We're taking a look at this. This is the Vivo X42. It's the newest foldable phone from Vivo. A channel lately or for past couple of years you will know that our thought of Evil's X series of flagships, starting with the X70 Pro Plus to the X80 Pro to the X90 Pro Plus, were among the very best camera phones that I've ever tested, and Vivo's very first folding phone. It was the first phone to offer a bunch of new technology, including a dedicated in-display fingerprint sensor in a foldable phone, and also a camera system that was very close to its slab flagship, including a relatively large main sensor and a 5x periscope zoom lens. And so I was very excited when Vivo announced the X42. I quickly imported one from Trinity and Electronics in Hong Kong. They ship to the US and Europe too, so if you're interested in buying a phone that's China only, you might want to look at them because they will get your phone very fast. So anyway, after using this thing for about a day and a half, so this is by no means a full review, I have to say that my early impressions are I'm a little bit disappointed, and keep in mind that doesn't mean this is a bad photo phone, it's just my standards are very high. Let's go over what's good first. So you still have a 6.5-inch outside display that looks very good, 120Hz refresh rate, and then when you unfold you have an 8-inch OLED panel, gets a maximum brightness of 1800 nits, so it's a very bright looking screen, again 120Hz refresh rate, and the crease is barely visible. You know this is not news by now for anyone who are used to Chinese foldable phones. They all use that same water drop folding mechanism that allows the hinge to be a lot less noticeable. You see only when the light is shining on it and you move at a specific angle will you see it, otherwise when you run your finger through it you don't really feel the crease. This is obviously a big improvement from the Galaxy Z44, whose crease is very deep and you can feel it with your finger, and of course the Vivo X42 folds completely flat, unlike the Ragazzo's Evil 4, and the hinge can stay in place at any angle. I would say it can keep in place at quite a wide range of angles. Around the back you have a triple camera system, hand-on by a 50-megapixel main camera, f1.8 aperture image sensor, size of 1/1.49 inch, so 1.5-inch sensor, so it's a kind of large image sensor compared to other foldable phones. But if you compare it to a slap phone or even something like a Huawei Max 2 damage sensor, it's a little bit small. And then you have a pair of 12-megapixel cameras, one for the ultra-wide, one for a 2x telephoto zoom lens, so there is no periscope zoom lens. In this camera system you only have a 2x powerful zoom lens now, so this is in fact a downgrade from the first Vivo X phone, which had a 2x zoom lens and a 5x periscope zoom lens on top, and overall the camera system hardware is just not as mind-blowing as I would have come to expect from a Vivo flagship. Now granted, this is a foldable phone, so we have to cut some slack, but we have seen phones like the Huawei Max 2, the Huawei Max 3, and even the first X phone which were able to give us a camera system that's closer to the slab flagship offerings, while this camera system is clearly a step back in hardware compared to the Vivo X90 Pro Plus. But fortunately Vivo has proven in the past couple years that its software image processing is very strong, and the Zeiss T coating is still here covering the lens, so it will help reduce flare. Now I've only had the phone for about a day and a half and I have not been able to test the cameras a lot yet, but I've taken needle about a dozen photos, and I think image quality is still quite good for a foldable phone, so I'm just going to show you some samples like this. So Vivo's excellent portrait vintage filter is still here, and I think this is a very good portrait shot now. The screen looks great as you can see, and there are symmetrical speakers on the left and right side that pumps out very full lively volume. You chose Triple H. Unfortunately, one of the biggest software complaints I had about the first Vivo Explode, which was the fact that you cannot split screen YouTube horizontally. You can only split vertically. That is still the issue here, and it's a little bit disappointing. You also cannot split Gboard when you're opening up keyboard on a large tablet-like screen. You cannot split this keyboard right now. It's very frustrating, but it's hard for me to type. One need to reach all the way to the middle, the battery in. I took this thing out, I used it, not super heavily, but I did use it outside all day, and I finished with like 40 battery life left. And you can charge this with the included charging brick at 120 watt speeds, and this thing supports wireless charging. You also get a nice case with the packaging. This case is also made from the same vegan leather, aka fake leather material right here, and this part it's clear and it just snaps on, so you basically put on the case and the phone looks almost exactly like you didn't put a case on it, except it's slightly bulkier. Now speaking of bulk, That is ultimately where my biggest disappointment lies with the Vivo X42. Now the Vivo X42, to be fair, has already slimmed down a lot from the original Vivo X phone, which weighed 311 grams. If you remember my review of that, I said that phone was just a little bit too heavy to use as my daily driver. So this phone now slimmed down to 289 grams, and also the weight got trimmed to 13mm, so it's not super thick or heavy. In fact, it's about on par with the Galaxy Z Phone 4. It's a little bit thinner than a Z44 actually, but a little bit heavier, but otherwise these two phones' thickness and have feel about equal, and